good? But I'll be doing prize picks.
Well, of course.
And I'm going to focus on sports wagering because we have Odd Shopper and we have arbitrage things. So instead of me spending 4 hours getting all the different slates, all the different sites, all the different formats ready, I'm just going to play a little bit on DK, a little bit on Yahoo.
Now and then, yeah.
And then FOMO kicks in.
Oh, you're right back there. Right.
FOMO is strong right now. Let me tell
yeah.
you, so I haven't registered yet.
Whenever you're ready, Mike. Sorry. Welcome in. It is your weekly edition of getting you ready for the NFL slate prize pick style. Myself, EMac in the house. Tons of things to look at. The over-under spot to be is prize picks. Mike Awesemo is producing. You're in the house. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. And look, we have a promo code for you. We keep telling you this. This is the beauty of it. You put in $100 at prizepicks.com and use our promo code Awesemo. We'll match it. $100. Hard to find a match code like that with that much money. And if you've been using the promo code, first off, then everything that EMac has been telling you is gold on top of that. And you're probably playing still with house money. What's up, brother?
How's it going? I just realized somehow I saw a projection for Adrian Peterson, and I looked to see what team picked him up. My Seattle Seahawks.
Ooh.
Yikes. I was not aware of that until moments ago. I don't think he'll do anything, but boy, good God, they brought Marshawn Lynch back last year. So.
Right. Yeah. Activate off the practice squad. There you go. Now, are there any playable over-unders for AP this AP?
No, I went and looked.
Right away, right? Right away. I don't blame you by any means. No. So this is your squad, the Seahawks?
Absolutely. I ride with Steve Largent. Man. There we go.
Look at that. Is that an autographed snap right there?
The best DFS player in the world, Steve Largent.
That is amazing.
No,
is that really what that's?
No, it says good luck or best wishes or whatever. Okay. No, my brother bought it for me.
All right. Well, maybe you lifted it off the dry cleaner or something, and it still has his signature on it. All right. Yeah. Well, we don't have any Adrian Peterson over-unders by all means. I'm sure I just have a feeling that Jalen Hurts is going to work himself back into this conversation at some point here, as he seems to. But look, we have a ton of things that you have searched and continue to use each week, our own tools, Alex, Awesemo, what we have on site, and then using that as far as the great metrics and really means to determine the value on prize picks. Tough week this week or an easier week, you think, to find just overall on the slate to find some value here?
No, I found a few good ones, I think, and I actually feel comfortable with them. I did not land on any fantasy point picks, which is kind of rare. Usually I can find a couple that I like, but there were really nothing that was standing out. And I started looking at some of the ones like conceivably you could put Alexander Madison in. I think PrizePicks has him for like 20.5. We've got him for 23. If you wanted to play that angle with the full PPR, the rushing and touchdowns, then that might be the way to go. I'd rather take his rushing prop. We'll get to that. But there was really nothing that stood out among the fantasy points, really nothing amongst quarterback completions. I like to go to those as well, but we're introducing a new category this week. We're going to be hitting this one pretty good. We'll save it for last.
Is that right? Okay, I cannot wait. What a tease right there. You have now ensured that everybody watching will stay throughout, so this new category can be it. Now, I imagine this is a new category that will be introduced today, but we'll be using moving forward, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Beautiful.
And it's not new to PrizePicks. It's just
new to us,
newer to us, and they had some good ones on that. So we'll finish strong with those.
It's new to you out there. That's what it is. All right, well, let's start in the air, as we always do. Quarterbacks first and foremost, and there's a wide range, to say the least, of guys you can choose from. I was a little surprised when I read the name at first that you have here, but then when I saw the numbers, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so Mike Glennon at Miami, he's getting the start for Danny Dimes, Danny Nichols, Danny Pennies. It's just it's a rough one out there in the world. So he is going to start for the Giants. going against Miami. Now, most books have his over-under for passing yards in the 210 to 215 to 217 range. Awesemo has him for 244. PrizePicks has him for 190 and a half. Now, let's look at this. It's because, Miami's a reasonably good defense. They're middle of the road, and they're both DVOA against the rush and the pass. But Glennon has appeared once this season. That was back in that debacle of a game against Dallas, where literally every skill position player got hurt for the Giants. They were out there with backup tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, and Glennon in part of that ass kicking. 16 to 25 in that game, 196 yards. Okay, well, that's, he's going to get a full game, but we can say 25 to 30 completion or attempts. So that's a similar reasonable workload, but he got to 196 there. Last year, he ended up making 5 starts, 4 of which he finished the game for, let's see, who did he play for? The Jaguars. So in those games, he put up, he was 20 of 35 for 235 against Cleveland. He was 28 of 42 for 280 in Minnesota. He was 24 of 37 for 211. He was 26 of 42 for 262 against Indy. So he's got the ability. He's done it recently, and we're trying to get over 190 and a half. This is one of the key plays for me this week. So I definitely want to take the over on Mike Glennon. I suspect this moves closer to 200. We've talked about how PrizePicks, they will move their numbers around if things start coming in heavy on one side or the other. They usually don't put in injured players or questionable players or anything like that because they don't like to pull the stuff down. But those are the key things there. And yes, Roach, Roachita, we see the chat. So there you go.
Okay, good.
I don't know what he's asking, but we see it. So put in a question.
I mean, look, we're doing PrizePicks here. So if you're coming in with a start-sit question about your season-long or advice on your DFS roster, it's easier for us to type that out on the chat than to stop a PrizePicks themed show. So by all means, we'll get to everything we possibly can here. If it's a PrizePicks specific question that you have, or even an over/under that you're looking at comparing it to the books that we can take here to PrizePicks, by all means, we'll incorporate everything we can fully here. So Glennon, going there with that as the jump, where else have you? Stafford, I see now, and that number seems a little low.
So Stafford's coming in at 282 against Jacksonville. We know that Henderson's a little dinged up. And so are they going to run, or if they run, are they going to go Sony Michel? So sort of my game script on this one is they're going to pass. They're one of the most pass-happy teams in the league. However, if they are able to get out to a lead, I suspect they're going to turn to the running game and not risk anybody because Stafford's dinged up like he seems to be perpetually. And, Cooper Kupp, let's put him in bubble wrap if they can control this game since they don't have Robert Woods anymore. Odell Beckham Jr. a little bit dinged up. So we're looking at Van Jefferson, et cetera. But I kind of like the over for this one. Now, most books have it at 290 to 295. Awesemo has it at 282. Or pardon me, PrizePicks has it at 282. Awesemo, I think, is a little aggressive with 317 and a half. However, that's still plenty over. I think he flirts with 300.
Okay.
And that's sort of, once you get up to that lofty total, that's fine. But I think 290, 297, somewhere around there feels right. That's still significantly over the PrizePicks. So I'm good with that one. And then the final one for this category, of course, is Tom Brady going against Atlanta. Mr. Pass Happy Tom Brady, right? He doesn't need an excuse. And wouldn't it be something if he could bank another 2, 3, 4 touchdown game, another 300-yard game? He leads the league in those categories.
Amazing.
He could be the front runner now for MVP.
I think he is.
Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, wouldn't that be something? And why not pad the stats now in a game against Atlanta? So for him, 300 yards is like falling out of a boat. Most books have him at 300 to 305. PrizePicks is trying to, they're trying to incent us because, again, it's win or don't win. They set the number, right? It's like cutting a piece of cake when you're a kid and your brother picks which the half, right? You're gonna make damn sure you get it.
That's right.
to pretty even, right? When you're doing that sort of stuff.
I speak from experience. Yes.
So in any event, this is one where they're trying to entice us one way or the other. So they're knowingly going a little higher or a little lower of whatever it is based upon what they think. So this isn't Like, it's not like they have bad lines out there. These are just where do we think it's going to happen, and how are we looking at it against the Awesemo models and projections for that one. So I think the over there.
Both of these games, big spread. So I think there may be some concern, the blowout factor and all, but I'm with you there. You know, it's interesting because it's a factor that should be taken into account if you're betting on PrizePicks over under for Brady, if you're dropping individually using OddsShopper to determine a bet, or if you're just accounting for, DFS, like season long, he's in. But this whole thing about winning the MVP, it's been 4 years, right? Since he's won it. And he's had this resurgence. They come off winning the Super Bowl. Clearly there is a narrative. There isn't really any other quarterback who has played consistently enough that you could argue is right there neck and neck outside of I don't even know who it would be. I mean, we've seen so many stinkers from guys, and Brady hasn't had those. You said he leads the league, right? In the multi-TD in the 300+ yard games. So Stafford, I think I'm a little concerned about, just because it's like Jacksonville, but this is a divisional game for Brady, the MVP narrative, 292. I'm actually surprised that PrizePicks has it below 300, to be honest with you. Books aside, just thinking it seems like it's a lock that Brady would try to hammer a team down. It's really to ensure the MVP more so than anything else.
Yeah,
he's got everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think is kind of interesting. Now, here's where I'm going to sort of go the other direction. So passing touchdowns, Matt Stafford, PrizePicks has it at 2.5, right? So that means he's got to get 3. Has to get 3. We have him at 2.3. Now, if we go look at the OddsShopper tool and go to shop NFL odds, you can sort by likelihood of outcome. So we want the win percentage. We're not worried about ROI for this particular site when we're using OddsShopper, because we don't have to do the -10 to win 100 or the plus 100 to win 220 or whatever, right? So it's all about just what is the actual outcome. So there's a 60% chance that he comes in under 3 touchdowns, or pardon me, under 2.5, which would be 3 touchdowns. So I think that one's kind of an interesting one, because let's say they are able to get it up in the game and they turn to Sony Michel or whomever just to run down the clock. That makes a lot of sense. Without Woods, with OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. being a little dinged up, it just feels like maybe there's not those many dynamic pass catchers. He's probably going to throw for 2 touchdowns. Does he get that 3rd? That's the question. And I don't think so.
Yeah, there's an angle here too, just the game script of it. And I know you don't have him on your rushing yards category, so it's something to factor in. But you just mentioned Michel, and I was looking for Michel before our show because Henderson is banged up. He's going to play, but he's banged up. And it's the Jaguars. And the Jaguars are miserable. And you should be up by a lot, especially because the Rams have had some difficult losses that they're planning on bouncing back from. So this just screams blowout, run the clock out. And if Henderson is banged up, first off, his number on PrizePicks is 65.5. But more so, I think just in general, it's going to take away from, you're right, the passing touchdown element of it. But I also think it helps everybody in the running game and improve and do that. Look, I don't have our own projections here, but I think 65.5, the only concern I would have for Henderson is just how hurt he is. If he was healthy, then I would say slam this. But because we don't know how hurt he is, that's where I would be a little resistant or hesitant maybe to play him.
Yeah. Henderson. Now, Awesemo currently has him at 79 rushing yards, but we're not factoring in that he's, at this point, we're saying questionable, he's going to play.
Sure.
And this will probably change as we get additional news coming out tonight, any clarifications from Schefter on the overnight, any other things coming from the team. Now, we do have Sony Michel projected for 30 rushing yards. So it's not nothing there.
No.
And normally in this situation, Henderson would have been over 100 yards. Now, currently he's 5th on our list, or 6th, I guess, but at 79. So it's not 70. When you think about it this way, if you look at NFL rushing yards, so we're used to a 16-game season. So 67.5 yards gets you 67.5 or 62.5. I forget which now, but it gets you 1,000 yards over a 16-game season. So when you think about it, you're like, oh, wow, that used to be a lot. Well, last year, there were only 9 running backs in Lamar Jackson who got over 1,000 yards rushing. The year before, I think it was 15 or 16. But this year, more people will reach that 1,000-yard mark, but they get an extra game. So you want to think of it from that standpoint. So basically, all I'm saying is that number there would basically be the equivalent of 1,100 yard rushing, 1,200 yard rushing. And you're like, and he's in one of the most favorable matchups of all time. Okay, well, we're giving him a little ding for being hurt there. We're probably expecting 3/4 of work. So I just want to explain sort of how the projections work. And if we get iffy or they're looking at an X workload for this or only high leverage touches, then that'll come back down. Michelle's will go back up tomorrow. But that's how the Awesemo projections work. So, and most projections, not just ours. But
right. Okay. So let's keep it moving here and go to rushing yards. And again, doesn't mean that it's just running backs for rushing yards, right?
Correct. Because I believe this is where we get to talk about your guy, Jalen Hurts. Because guess what? He's 44.5 yards on PrizePicks for his
with an ankle injury. Yes.
Now, little banged up.
Yeah.
We always have to put this out there. Now, Awesemo, again, our projections love him for rushing. We have it just over 60 yards. I did go look at a couple other sites. They're in the low 50s. So one thing that you'll find with the Awesemo project. Now, here I will tell you about the Awesemo projections. We don't worry as much about where all the other sites are landing. They do some comparisons, but we go where we think our models are going to be. There's a lot of sites out there that will sort of toe the line and keep themselves within range of what is established the run doing. And we'll say these other names. What is Derek Carter's the blitz doing? What is, fill in the blank doing? And you get this group thing, which is something that is not always helpful. So that's one thing that Alex and company doing the projections here, they, those are kind of guardrails, but unless they're way off, they're using their numbers because they're putting in all the other analysis on everything else. And it's sort of like, well, if I've come up with this and everybody's over here, don't I want to react to my news and not push myself higher or lower to match everybody else? So that's an interesting thing here that I do want to point out, that when we're saying some of our numbers, they'll be a little higher or lower. That's because this is what's coming out of the model. We're not putting our thumb on the scale.
Right. Exactly. So the difference here with Hurts, right? 44.5 to 61.5 our projection. Now that's factoring in the ankle injury and assuming that he's playing.
Correct. And that's a pretty big number. So this is where it's, what is your risk tolerance?
Yeah.
And remember, that's a median projection. That doesn't mean it's always going to, the error bars on that are probably plus or minus, 25%. There's a wide range of outcomes here. But, it is our guy. It is our guy. But I'm not as free square on that one as I have been in prior weeks, just because he's a little dinged up.
He's gone over that number, though, every
time.
44 was his floor, right? I mean, think about that. 44 was his floor. So one time all year, he's gone under 44.5, and it was 44 that I see here. Right? Oh, no, I take that back. This is October 3rd. No. Wait a second. Before that. All right. So we have to go back to like October 10th and then the short week against the Bucks there, where you had a stretch where he didn't hit 44.5. That's 2 games. But ever since, he's hit that. And the beauty of it is he doesn't even need carries, man. 8 carries for 77 yards last week against the Giants. Against the Lions, that's probably a better indicator, right? Is the Lions game, because it should be a similar outcome of a blowout, or at least a bounce back for an Eagles offense that looked like dog shit last week against the Giants. So 44-6, they route, but Hurts doesn't throw. So that's a big key here. That is a factor where normally teams that are up big and then are running a clock out. We talked about the Rams. They're throwing to get there. The Eagles can get up 44-6 and only have 13, 14 attempts for Hurts. Meanwhile, it's on the ground. So, no, I think you found a really good avenue here for Hurts, by all means, especially because PrizePicks hasn't adjusted quite to where our projections are.
Yeah. And again, these are the ones where you got the injury news, grain of salt there.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling comfortable, and questionable these days more or less means they're almost assuredly going to play, though they may have, something. At this point in the year, almost everybody's harboring some sort of good God, we've had 11 or 12 games under our belt at this point. This is
right.
The people are getting beat. I imagine getting rear-ended once a week. Yeah, 3 months of that, and I'm not going to be getting out of bed very quickly. Okay.
No, no, you were talking about taking a weekly hit on DFS. That's much different than taking a physical hit in the head each and every. No, you're right, and that's a big thing here too. If he's playing, he's healthy enough to run. I can promise you that. If he's out there, he's not going to be turned into some statue. That's not going to happen.
Right. And then one last thing, because you watch all these games, and we can get through these other ones relatively quickly
sure.
too. But do you see? I mean, you watch the Philly games. They don't do that many designed runs for him, right? It's not like a Lamar Jackson thing. They'll pick their spots, but more often than not, he's doing it out of a broken play or a pass where he's getting, at least getting around the corner, I think is the better way of saying it.
So it's a trio of circumstance. And a lot of times when you have somebody, when we do the anytime TD, you'll combine the probability of a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown to determine whether or not it's going to hit. So I think it's similar here where Hurts is a product of three different circumstances. One being a design run, which you're right, doesn't happen a ton, but still happens every now and again. The other is the RPO, where he really has the control in his hands now to either hand the ball off or generate some sort of quick throw. We've seen him tuck now out of the RPO and create some sort of running, especially because he knows if he doesn't get rid of the ball, or if he gets rid of the ball too late, it's going to be a flag down the field. And then finally, it's what you mentioned where it's the pocket breaks down and there's chaos. But all three of those equal way more of a probability of him running each down than throwing, by all means. All right, one more running back here, or one more guy running the football, I should say.
Sure. And I see David Fangs asked a question here. Will the team, what if they just run Madison more and limit Kirk Cousins on the throwing?
Yes.
Great question. So we'll answer that as part of this. So PrizePicks, this one is going to go up. I have all confidence that it will. PrizePicks has Alexander Madison at Detroit with a 74.5-yard rushing total. Awesemo has him as the second highest rusher on the day behind Jonathan Taylor. We have him at 101.5. I've looked at several other sites because I was curious. They all have him closer to 90. So again, Awesemo not afraid to put what they think is going to be out and where. I can go find a bunch of players where we're under too, right? Doesn't mean we overproject because at the end of the day, you got to have how many yards, how many is the quarterback, receiver, completions, attempts, catches, all that stuff has to math itself out. But we're running higher on this one. Most books are in that 90 to 95 range. So I think that's going to tick up a little bit as well with the book. So I really like that one. So if we go and look at the Awesemo, I'm going to drop this into chat. It's free. This is the Awesemo Advanced Stats page. So within this, we have game script adjusted rushing percentage. So that means in neutral scoring situations, how often do you run the ball? And that means you're up or down by a touchdown or less, right? They want neutral, right? So it's sort of like first drive of the game, there's no score on the board. Which would you rather do, run or pass? So Minnesota comes in around the top 10. They run 43% of the time. They also use a relatively short controlled passing game. They don't even really go down the field that often, although Kirk Cousins is okay as a deep ball passer. It's Jefferson doing stuff after the catch more often than not. Now he'll get a couple long passes per game. And I'm blanking on that other guy that was the brief one-hit wonder as their third wide receiver. He's since faded down a little bit, but they really aren't going to throw deep a lot. So I don't like the Kirk Cousins numbers because this feels like hey, can we ride Madison? Can we get in? Can we get out? Can we get the victory here? So Awesemo has projected for this game, they're assuming that Minnesota is going to run almost 46% of the time. So that's a 10% increase over what it was before. And that's proportional. So yes, I know I said 43 and now I'm saying 46, 10%, this is how math works. Can't get confused with probabilities and percentages. They both have a percentage sign after them, but they mean different things. So what we're seeing is a major uptick, fifth most likely to run this week. So I would say, yes, I agree with the hypothesis. They would like him to not have to throw that much. They would prefer to run. And then quickly here, because we just have a couple minutes left, receiving yards, Saquon Barkley. So he's got Glennon under center. Part of the Glennon number not being so, who the hell is he going to throw it to? Because everybody's seemingly dinged up. But guess what? He's throwing the ball. A variety of people can catch it. We just need to get over 190 yards. So the number for Saquon Barkley receiving yards is 20.5. Now, Awesemo is going pretty damn aggressive here.
Yeah.
We have him at 40.5. I think 31-32 is a more realistic outcome, but we have a double what the PrizePicks number is. The other books are 23-26. So
wow.
I would still take the over on the other books. We're getting a 3 to 6 yard advantage here. We're getting a 10%, a 12% advantage here in our favor. I like this one. Plus, we already have, the bonus of Awesemo going way over. So I would lean towards the over on that. And then finally, the cherry on top, the interception.
What we've been waiting for. Yes,
I have failed our viewers because I have not been bringing these up, and I really, really should have. This is just a pure math play. We're just going to save them for last, but over under half an interception. Lamar Jackson, we have him at 84% chance of an interception. Now, when I say 80, Terry and I have argued about this. It's 0.84 is in the Awesemo projections for his percentage. Terry liked to argue with me that, well, your percentage, it's 2.3% or whatever, but the answer is it's 2.3% times however many attempts you have gets, if you at a certain point you throw 40 passes, you're a 2-point person, you're going to throw an interception. That's how the math works. So I'm saying 80% chance for this one. I'll take that.
Yep.
80% chance that Tyrod Taylor does that as well. Now,
like
Tyrod Taylor doesn't run as much as we like to think he does. He's a competent passer. He's a solid runner, but he would have had his own team long ago if he was as good as the DFS world thinks he is. We think he's good because on a point per dollar basis, he's very, very good.
Sure. Incredible value, right?
But on a raw points basis,
not so much.
We'll take him at 80% chance of an interception, and then Tua Tagovailoa going against the Giants' marginal defense. But again, remember, Tua Tagovailoa weren't there trade rumors already for him, and not just for Deshaun Watson either. There were other rumors at the beginning of the year, or replacement coming in. So let's take those three. But those three I think are excellent options. I like those three and Glennon as my favorites.
We have real quick on the way out. Odd Shopper has Tua, just looking at this projected for 24 completions. So if we have them projected for that, you can imagine as far as attempts we have. I can see a scenario here where they're throwing, even if they're quick throws. It's a lot of throws, so it's a good chance right there for Tua to get picked off. All right. Yep. Thanks to everybody for hanging with us once again. We appreciate you. And make sure you thank EMac on Twitter and whenever you see him across the board here on all Awesemo platforms.
35. We have him for 35 attempts.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. I figured it would be high since the completions was so high. Thank you. So hit that thumbs up button, please, on your way out. Make sure you're subscribed as well. And take advantage of that promo code. You put it $100. We'll put it $100. Awesemo on prizepicks.com. For EMac, Mike Awesemo. We'll see you next week.